Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. So this week we're going to be taking a look at a B.B. King style slow ballad, and this was a suggestion from one of the Active Melody site members, and I thought it was a good one. I realized I haven't done a lot of ballad stuff, and so anyway, there's a lot of bends, and it's dramatic, and it's just a lot of fun to do. So if you're an Active Melody Premium member, you can download the tablature and the jam track to practice along with this. So I've split this into two videos. So in this first video, in this one, we're going to take a look at part one. And just real quick before I jump into it, I'll show you how to play everything note for note that I played in the intro. But the more important thing to learn from this is the context around it. So I want you to learn the scales and know where we're at in reference to the key that we're in and all of that stuff, so that hopefully you can take these licks and apply them to your own playing. That's really the goal. So that if you're ever at a jam session, for example, and you wanted to whip out a B.B. King lick, you would know how to do that. So anyway, I always like to provide a lot of context around these lessons. And I know sometimes it gets painfully detailed, but I think it's important when you're trying to learn how to play guitar. So anyway, let's look at the first part. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the first part. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and play through everything note for note in the first part. And so you have this as a reference, and then we'll break it down. So here we go. So that's where we're going with this. And real quick on tone, I am using a Boss BD2, so it's a blues driver 2 pedal, very basic. I use that for a lot of this kind of, if I'm trying to get somewhere between clean channel and somewhere between a little bit of overdrive, that's a great pedal for this. And in fact, I use this pedal most of the time when I'm playing for most of these lessons. And right now I have the overdrive set at about 30%. So that's the pedal that I prefer. It's fairly inexpensive, and you can get a lot of great tones from that. As far as amp settings, it's really just a little bit of reverb on the amp, and that's it. I don't spend a whole lot of time with pedals because it's just, for me, that's a slippery slope. It's expensive, and you never seem to find that, or for me anyway, I can never really find exactly what I want. So you just kind of have to look at the old blues guys and you go, hey, wait, they didn't have a lot of pedals and stuff. They just pretty much plugged straight into whatever little amp they had, and that was it. So I think a lot of the emphasis should be on your fingers and your vibrato and how you bend, and that to me, when you talk about tone, and even the guitar that you're playing and the pickups and things, but that defines more of your tone to me, more of the real good stuff. Just my opinion. Okay, so we are in the key of C for this. So if you have your jam track downloaded and you're wondering what key we're in, that's the key. And most of the time, when you're thinking of playing blues, like if we're playing blues in the key of C, you would think I would go into the minor pentatonic scale. That tends to be the scale that you play when you're playing blues. So for those of you that are familiar with the blues lead course that I have at Active Melody, premium members have access to that. That's a we know that there's 5 patterns, and so this first pattern would be, if we're in the key of C, would be. So that's pattern 1 for the minor pentatonic scale, right? And by the way, I'm just setting the context for this so that we'll get into the notes, but this is some of the good stuff here. So the bar, if you were to make a bar chord, and a C bar chord, wherever you put your bar, that's your root fret. So that's kind of home base. That's how I always think of playing a solo. And then from there, you can branch into the different patterns. Well, B.B. King tends to play in the major pentatonic scale, not the minor. So he does play in the minor. He kind of goes back and forth. And he does some interesting things where he'll do bends, the real slow bends, where he's kind of going in between the minor and the major. And it gives it kind of I always kind of like to think of it as he's giving you a positive message, but it's got a little bit of a sad undertone to it. And, positive being major, and major always kind of sounds a little happier and stuff. So, but BB's just the master at that. And it's not that hard to do. I mean, really, it's some of the licks that he does. You'll see that there's a lot of repetition in what he does, and hopefully you can walk away from this lesson and be able to take a lot of these licks and apply that to what you do. So okay, so if this is home base, then where the bar is, which is, by the way, the fifth, seventh, eighth fret. To get to the major pentatonic scale, pattern 1, what you do is you always just slide everything, no matter which pattern you're in. If you slide everything down 3 frets, you'll be in the major pentatonic version of that pattern. So in pattern 1, if that's where the minor pentatonic scale is, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. And you can see where that sounds a little happier. And it's all in context to whatever the chord is, the backing track. That's why the backing tracks or the jam tracks are so important. But now you can see we're in pattern 1 of the major pentatonic scale. So any of the licks I do here are going to sound a little happier. Okay, so now that we know that, so if this is pattern 1 for the major pentatonic scale in the key of C, this is pattern 2 in the major pentatonic scale. This is pattern 3, and this is using the same pattern shape that I do in the blues lead chorus for the minor pentatonic scale. We're just in a different position on the neck. This is pattern 4. And this pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale is where most of the BB stuff happens. And so that's just a reference. So now you know if you're playing in the key of C, you're going to find the major pentatonic pattern 4. So that would be pattern 2. So pattern 1, 2, 3, and then pattern 4. There's all this kind of happy stuff that lives in this pattern 4. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'm sure some of you are going, huh? And some of you are probably like, all right, dude, we get it. But that's important, because once you understand this, the rest of it just becomes doing your homework. And it's sort of like once you understand the structure of a language, like the sentence structure, then you're just learning new words. I know the English language, but it's always, you're always learning new words, and because there's so many of them. And that's what licks are. They're new words that you can plug in, but you have to get these fundamentals down. So that's where BB lives, is up here in major pentatonic pattern 4. Okay, so, and you can, by the way, if we're in the key of G, same concept. There's your pattern 4 for the key of G. So it all is just relevant on the key that you're in. All right, so the first thing that I do for this lick is I slide up. I take my middle finger on the 3rd string, and I start somewhere maybe around the 12th fret. I just kind of grab at it. I'm not really it's not super scientific, but I'm sliding up to the 14th fret on the 3rd string, and then I take my pointer finger and I come to the 13th fret 2nd string and give a little vibrato. That's the first 3 notes that I play. Then I take my ring finger and I come up here to the 15th fret 2nd string, and I do a full bend. And I just kind of mute it. So I don't let it come down. I just go. I stop it. So I've just defined something. If it's almost like singing. If somebody gave me the mic and I said my first line. Jam track keeps going. Then there's this kind of little bit that goes. I love that. I use that all the time. And so think of each of these little licks as something new. They're new words that you're learning, and you can apply these words to your playing. So there's a lot of gold in that. So it's not about just memorizing note for note and just only being able to play with a jam track. You can now take this and apply it to whatever key you're in. So to do that part, I'm just repeating. I'm sliding back to the 14th fret 3rd string. Then I'm up to the 13th fret 2nd string, 15th fret 2nd string. Then we do a full bend on the 15th fret. So we have. Then I come down, play the 13th fret 2nd string. So that's going to be challenging. You're going to go from a bend to that note. So you're not going to release the bend. You're going to mute it, play the 13th fret second string, 15th fret second string again. Now we're back down to the 14th fret third string, and then we land on the 13th fret second string. That's a mouthful. So we have, let me do it slowly. But the way that I did it when I was playing, I was kind of, from a timing perspective, it was kind of... And by the way, the picking with the right hand is just down, up, down, up. So let me... Just alternate picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so thus far we have... Okay, so then the next part sounds like this. So I'm not doing a full bend, I'm doing a half bend. So by the way, a full bend is when you bend from one note and you're trying to hit the note that's 2 frets higher. A half bend is when you're trying to hit the note that's 1 fret higher. So you can hear I'm matching it. So what I do there is I come up to the first string. I start on the first string with my pointer finger, 13th fret. Then I take my ring finger and put it down on the 15th fret first string. It's important to use your ring finger because you're going to come down now after doing that and take your middle finger and put it on the 15th fret second string and do a half bend. So here's the challenge. The challenge is going to be trying to play that first string and second string both on the 15th fret. So just practice that. If you're new to this, it'll feel like your fingers are too crammed into that little space, but you can do it. Okay, so let's back up and play everything we have thus far. Now, after I do the bend, I'm going to release the bend and come down and play the 13th fret second string. So it's... And a lot of the magic in what BB does is in the amount of pressure he applies to the bends. So had he gone... That would have worked because you would have been playing more of a major pentatonic. See how it sounds happy? By doing a full bend it sounds happy, but BB will take, since he's in that major pentatonic scale already, he'll take and do a half bend. Which that puts it, I mean theoretically, these two notes are in the minor pentatonic scale. So I know that some of this is confusing because you're blending the two scales at certain points, but just know that this note is in the minor pentatonic scale. You know when I'm doing pattern 1? See that note there? It's the same note here. And so that's why that sounds sad as opposed to... so it's these little subtleties that make BB's playing so genius. Okay. So after that, then I go... And for that, I'm just playing, it's pretty simple, and something you do hear BB do a lot, is 13th fret second string, then I come up and play the 15th fret first string, which we've already played, and then right back to the 13th fret second string, and it happens kind of quickly like this. And then at the end of that lick, I just went... And I just, which is the 3rd string, but the 14th fret. Just kind of slid it down. So, all right, here's what we have thus far. Then we do this. Very BB. And that's just a full bend. It's up on the 15th fret, 3rd string. Sorry, 15th fret, 1st string, not 3rd. And that's a tough one because you're bending pretty hard, pretty hard bend. If you're new to bends, it's going to sound like it's going to just be all clunky, and it's going to sound like you're just banging into all the other strings. But you'll learn control just by practicing. See how quiet and clean it is? And what I'm doing, you can see that when I bend, I'm pushing the other strings. I'm pushing strings 2 and 3 in that bend. But you just kind of, you'll learn how, using the tips of your finger, how to kind of not let those ring out when you do it. So just practice that. So that's a full bend. Then we come back to the 15th fret, 1st string, and just finish out that bend. Then we do that, so I go do another bend, back to the 15th fret, back to the 13th fret on the 1st string. Then I'm back down here on the 15th fret, 2nd string to do this bend. And this bend is a slow bend that kind of goes across the minor and major pentatonic. It goes. So there's something cool about just doing a slow bend, because it's almost like to the listener, their ear doesn't know where are you going to stop this thing, because I could have stopped it there, which would have been the minor pentatonic scale, but I didn't. I kept going. And so it creates a tension to the listener to hear that it pulls you, and the listener has no idea about the scales, nor do they care, but their ear is telling them that it's not resolving, and so it creates a really nice tension, like the human voice. If you're singing, somebody's a little flat and they're trying to hit the note, you almost are pulling for them, and that's what that tension creates. So all right. So this next part, let me just repeat that is. You can hear where I stop it is 2 frets higher than where I started, so that's a full bend. But by doing it slowly, it gives you that tension. Okay, now after that, then I went. And that's just a kind of somewhere between a half bend and a full bend. It works either way. You could do a full bend or a half bend. And but anyway, it's just 15th fret, 2nd string. And what I do is I do a bend, and then I do a pull off like this. So watch my right hand. It's not, I pick it once, and then I pick it again there. So I'm not picking 3 times. I'm just. All right, so let's back up. I know I'm very repetitive, but it helps. We'll back up and we'll play everything up to this point. Here we go. All right, so then to wrap it up, I just went. A little sloppy on the end, but for that I come. This is a big BB thing to do at the turnaround, where you're turning around to repeat the thing. He'll oftentimes go to the minor pentatonic scale to give it an extra little bit of emphasis. So at that point, I'm in the minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1. So, and what I'm doing there is I start on the let's see, that's the 10th fret, 2nd string, and I do a. So what I do is I'm doing a slow bend. It's not a full bend; it's a half bend. And then I come down to the 8th fret, 2nd string. Notice with the right hand, when I play it, I'm not just lightly picking it. I'm going. Hear that little bit of growl? It's those things too that give you, I mean, that's considered raking when you're playing, but that gives a nice little punch when you're hitting it. And what I'm doing is I'm really doing some muting here with the right hand as I hit or do that downstroke, I kind of stop it so that it doesn't ring out. But that's that technique, and you don't have to do that. I think it just gives it a nice little punch as you're coming down. Then I come down and play the 3rd string on the 10th fret, and then back to the 8th fret 2nd string. So. And the picking is just down, up, down. Actually, for those first 3, it's just down. So it's down, down, down. And then, after that, then I play. And for that, I'm borrowing the first 3 strings on the 8th fret. But I'm only going to play strings 2 and 3. And I hammer on with my middle finger onto the 9th fret 3rd string. That's what gives you that sound. Then I come up here to the 10th fret. I'm borrowing the first 3 strings on the 10th fret, but I'm only going to play strings 2 and 3. Then we're going to come back and repeat this again. So it's the hammer on and a hammer on again. Now I'm going to take my ring finger and come to the 4th string on the 10th fret. That's where we're at. Then after that, then I'm going to take my pointer finger and I'm going to come to the 5th string on the 8th fret. Then I'm going to slide down 1 to the 7th or to the 5th string on the 7th fret. So we have. Just use my pointer finger for both of those. So. And then after that, I take my middle finger and I put it onto the 4th string right here at the 8th fret, and I slide it up to the 10th fret. So after we have, then I go, and that really closes out that first half. All right, so what we have then is. And that's all I have for this first part. Make sure you go to activemelody.com and you look for EP041 to get all of the downloadables for this lesson and get access to the second part. I hope you've enjoyed this one, so we'll see you in the next one.